Hello and welcome to our next tutorial in Blender, and we're going to do a number of cool things hopefully in this tutorial. First thing is I'm just going to walk you through a few basic sort of parts of the Blender interface. So before I do that, let me turn off on screencasting so you can see what keys I'm pressing. So we're going to use the cycles render engine. So I've just changed here to cycles. I'm going to delete my default cube. I'm going to go to front orthographic mode, which is 1 and 5 on the numpad. I'm going to add in a UV sphere. You can also go down here to add mesh UV sphere. Now it's got 32 segments and 16 rings, and I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to hit smooth, so it's smooth, and now I'm going to go or X 90. And what that does is it kind of orientates the sphere that way. So if I look from the side, yeah, it'll become apparent in a minute. I'm going to make an eyeball. I'm going to unwrap this and make an eyeball. So I'm going to back into edit mode, or to solid mode. I'm going to change from object mode to edit mode, and I'm going to go U to unwrap, and I'm going to say project from view. I'm going to split the view and go over to the UV image editor, and that's what I've done. So if I undo my unwrap, so if I go U, project from view, there it is. Now I'm going to import an image. I'm going to go open to my desktop, and I have a folder here called face, and I've got 2 images in it, and this is the one I'm interested in, eyeball. So there's my eyeball. It's quite gross, but that's okay. So we can go S to scale this up, and then G to move it into position. Now we may find this isn't quite right, so let's look at it over here and get our eyeball to work. So I'm going to go to the node editor and over to materials and click on a new material. We'll call it eyeball, and we'll make this a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. And by default what I've got is this diffuse material, so I'm going to go into rendered mode, and that's what it looks like. So I'm going to add a texture, which is an image texture, and link the color to the color. And Blender always shows you pink when there's a texture missing. So now I've only got one image here, so I could have clicked open, but it lists all of the active images, and there's my eyeball. Now you'll see it's duplicated on both sides, which is a bit weird, but we're not going to be able to see the back of it in a minute. So there's my eye, and that's pretty cool. So in a very short amount of modeling, we've got an eyeball. Okay, so that's it there. Now it's a nice image, so hence it looks good here. So what I want to do now is I want to make just a part of a face. I'm not going to try and make a whole face because there's a lot in that. So I was going to try and make the sort of the eye socket and place this in it. So I'm going to go down here to background image, turn it on, and open a background image. So add, and then go open. And I have one prepared earlier. So here's my face. I'm going to open that. Now I'm going to close the UV image editor for a second, and then zoom out. So this is if we were building the whole head, we would need a side reference image, a front reference image, and sort of this perspective image as well. What we don't want that. We're just going to use this front one here. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. So this is X and Y, so I can move this X and Y. So the middle of the eyeball is lined up on the X-axis, so that's okay. And then I'm going to move this in here. Now my eyeball here, I'm just going to hide it by pressing H. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, I'm going to try and place my background image here just in the right in the crosshairs, and I might have to go in and do an extra point. Too much. No, I'll leave it at that. That's fine. Now we're going to end up having to move it anyway because I'm going to scale it. Okay. And the scale we need, Alt H unhides. The scale we need needs to be relative to our eyeball. So let's move that across. Still maybe not quite big enough, so say 50. There we go. Now, let's say 45. There we go. Now, so that's our face in position. So again, I'm going to take this eyeball, I'm going to hit H and hide it, and then I'm going to add a plane. I'm going into edit mode and go W, merge at center. And what that's done is the plane had 4 vertices and now I've only got 1. And what am I going to do with those vertices? I'm going to go G up here to move it to sort of the edge of the eye, and then I'm going to go E and extrude my eye around. Now how many of these do I want? How many verts? That's a good question. I'm going to select these two and hit F to create an adjoining face. So how many do I have? If I look up here, it says I have 16. You could have 12, you could have 20. If we were going to model the whole face, this would become a very important number, because all of these lines would have to travel out across the entire face. So if we've too many here, we'll end up with like too much geometry going across the face. If we've too few, we won't have enough geometry to get detail. So normally in an eye you'd have around somewhere between 8 and 12 for a computer game. For a model that you were going to use maybe in a cartoon or something photorealistic for a magazine, you could have hundreds. So depends on the what the model is for. So let's have a look at this. So this is completely flat. This is of no use to us. So how do we make this follow the shape of the eyeball? So what we're going to do is we're going to go Alt H. Sorry, we have to go into object mode first and then go Alt H. Now, where is so there is our outline. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to edit mode. I'm going to click on that, and what I want is I want that to move to the front of this. Now how do I do that? Well, I'm going to use a tool in Blender called Snap. I'm going to say snap to a face, and now I'm going to go GY, and I don't know if you can see it, but that has now snapped to the face. So I'm going to take each one of these and go GY, and in turn, sorry, go back to solid mode. So GY, there it is. And it's slightly laborious, but it will give us excellent results. If there's 16 of these, we have to do this 16 times. Now, there is a slightly quicker way to do this, but we dare not, because you haven't done enough yet. So okay, and nearly there. Oops. And nearly there, GY there. About 3 left to do. GY and 2 more. Last one. Now, so if I hide this, this now actually follows the shape of the eye. So what we're going to do is, we're not going to really follow this face. We're just going to do it very crudely. So I'm going to go select all and back into edit mode. I'm going to go E to extrude and then escape. And then scale. Excuse me. And here I'm I've kind of looking from the side. I'm going to go GY, just move it all forward a little bit. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to go E and then scale. This time I'm going to just take this corner one and I'm going to move it out and go GY. And this time I'm going to rotate this a little bit that way. E again, scale, and I'm just going to scale a little bit this way and then scale on Z a little bit more. Okay, and then we'll do one more. So E, scale a little bit, scale on Z, and this time again we'll rotate a little bit forward. I'll rotate that a little bit forward as well. Now I'm going to go to wireframe mode. So what we're missing here is a sense of an eyelid. So at the top, so this should go back in, if that makes any sense. So if we look at the side and over there, so it should come out, and actually it's not terribly pronounced here on this person, but so it goes down and then back out. This normally does the same, sort of it loops in and then comes back out for the forehead. So I'm going to take these two, I'm going to move them, GY is going to move them back a little bit. I'm going to do the same here with these two, GY, just move them back in a little bit. Now, I'll select them all, and in solid mode you'll see they're all slightly different colors. So I'm going to go Control N, which is to make all the normals, all the faces, look in one direction. I'm going to add a modifier, which is subdivision surface modifier, to make things look a little bit more organic. And then over here in this tab here, shading, I'm going to hit smooth. And now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat what we did with the eyeball. I'm going to go to materials. Before I do that, I'm going to split the view. I'm going to go to the UV image editor, U, project from view. It's important that we project from view and not just unwrap. And then over here, again, we can use the face. You can see it's stretched, but that's okay. So we're going to go G. Now, we need to turn off snapping here, or it'll be very difficult to work with. I'm going to go S. and SX. We're trying to get our mesh to align. Now I could spend a bit longer doing this and it would look a lot better, but I don't want any of the eyeball or any of the white. Cool. Now again, I need to go new material. We'll call it face, and then here we do the same thing. We add an image texture, connect the two, and then select face. And we go rendered. And we can close this. Now we're going to go Alt H. Oh, sorry, we're still in edit mode. Alt H. And there's the eyeball. Now, that's quite freaky. So, what's not quite right here is the iris is too big. So, I'm going to go back to my UV image editor and fix that a little bit. Select the eyeball and go into edit mode. And over here we can go eyeball. And what we need to do to make that smaller here, so I'm going to deselect by using A, and then use the C key to select just this ring. And then I'm going to scale this up. And as I scale it up, the eyeball, or the iris of the eye, will get smaller over here. How do I know that when I'm doing it? Well, because I've done it before. And as you start modeling, you'll encounter the same problems again and again. So now, let's go to material mode. And let's move a couple of lights and move the camera around and try and make a render. So we did this last week where we went lock camera to view and look through the camera. Zoom in here. Get a slightly uncomfortable close-up. And I'm going to select my light. I'll move that over to here and move it down. And I'll just turn off this background image for now. So we have made an eye and an eyeball. And the final thing that we're going to do before we finish this little tutorial is we're going to turn on our timeline and do a tiny animation. So, oh, I still have this turned on, turn that off. So I'm going to select the eyeball here, and I'm on frame 1, and I'm going to go eye, keyframe rotation. I'm going to move to frame 100, which is 4 seconds later. I'm going to go OR and Z, and have the eyeball turn to look at us, and then go eye, keyframe rotation. Now, let's have a look at a frame of that, what it looks like. So I'm going to go render. And it should look slightly disturbing. Now we probably need a higher resolution image. You can see this is slightly pixelated here in the render. And that's likely to replicate itself up in the rest of it. We probably need to move the UVs around on the eyeball to get rid of some of this redness. So it'd be nice to get a little bit on the periphery, but it looks like there'll be kind of too much there. And then we can see that again, it's about the resolution of the image. The skin here doesn't look realistic, it looks pixelated because we're just in too close. So what we need is a higher resolution or better quality image to apply to the mesh, and then this would start to look a lot better. But we can animate this and watch it, move. We can simply press, we'll set this, our end frame to be 100, and we can press play and watch it move. And if we get time, then another day, or in our next lesson, I'll show you how to do a thing called shape key animation, where you make it blink. But we'll make a bit more of the face before we do that. Okay. Thank you.